I'll be honest, 2023's been a bit crap for watches. The loneliest only watch, the Philips Greedy Speedy, the Landfill Blancpain. But it's not been all bad. Here's 10 watches that made me not want to flip the table. 10 of 2023's best. Stay to the end for my watch of the year. Things are off to a shocking start if one of the best watches of 2023 is a Hublot, but before you close the garage door and start up the car, let me explain why. Although many resent Hublot for defiling the miracle of sight and may wish founder Carlo Crocco's parents took their son's advice for putting a rubber on it, even the blindest archer hits a target once in a while. And with the MP15 Takashi Murakami Tourbillon Sapphire, Hublot have hit a target. I'm not sure exactly what target just yet, but I can tell at least it's one that doesn't come with a complimentary helping of eye bleach. Quite the opposite, in fact, because although the Hublot MP15's name suggests it has all the elegance and beauty of a submachine gun, it's actually stunning. Credit to artist Takashi Murakami, who coined the term superflat to describe pop art and the shallow emptiness of consumer culture for the flower motif. Credit to Hublot for completely missing the point and hiring a counterculture artist to design a £273,000 watch. It's like having Jeffrey Dahmer as the face of your new vegan snack company. Hublot, referencing the luxury conglomerate's guide to banal cliché, refer to the watch as playful and quirky. I would refer to it as f***ing awesome. Murakami's flower motif is rendered in polished sapphire, with its grinning mug framing the central tourbillon and stumpy hands. It's good to offer positive reinforcement when something is done well. Good job, Hublot. She sells seashells by the seashore, and by she, I mean the Fears Watch Company, and by seashells, I mean the Brunswick Aurora. Found on the shores of the mighty River Avon, the Bristol-based business revived the watchmaking endeavours of great-great-great-grandpappy Edwin Fear to make the most populous city in all of southwest England great again. But anyway, if you thought the Clifton Suspension Bridge was impressive, wait until you see the Brunswick Aurora. Well, actually, don't, because in pictures it looks like a cheap plectrum on a miserable day. I cannot emphasize this enough. This watch only works in real life. It's like food and air. Pictures just don't do it. So allow me instead to explain what the watch is like. It's a 40mm case, stainless steel, cushioned, just like great-great-great-grandpappy Edwin used to make them. There's an onion crown, straight hands with little teats on them, and a solid case back to hide the shame of the ETA 2824. It's all about the dial, because if you're like me and think oysters taste like salty snot, then you'll be pleased to learn that there's at least a use for what's left over. There's 2 pieces of shell from the Pinctada Maxima Oyster, a disc and a donut, arranged to provide a visual treat to rival disturbances in the magnetosphere caused by solar wind. Think that sounds like an exaggeration? The northern lights can bite me. In person, the Brunswick Aurora's dial is like having fireworks filled with LSD shot into your eyes. It's like the view through Hubble. You see colours you only heard about in books. This is basically God's eyeball. For anyone wondering why Tag Heuer released a special edition watch in commemoration of everyone's favourite bush kangaroo, this is the Heuer Carrera Skipper, and it references a watch originally produced in 1968 to celebrate an America's Cup win by the yacht Intrepid, captained, or skippered if you will, by Bus Mosbacher. This was back when America's Cup yachts looked like, well, yachts, but nevertheless the Intrepid was still an unusual looking craft. Its deck was painted a minty fresh green, but not because Mosbacher had an unhealthy obsession with Tiffany's, but because MIT scientists had determined it would be the least distracting colour out on the open ocean. It just so happens that through the magic of commercial bull, that particular shade makes people do funny things with their wallets, and so fresh off the back of the launch of the very well received Carrera glassbox, synergies aligned, and the Skipper revival was Tiffany blue-skied into existence. Say what you like about Tag Heuer jumping on the bandwagon, the Skipper looks fantastic. The 6 o'clock running seconds gets blended into the dial for a pseudo bicompax look, with the chronograph subdials emblazoned in Intrepid green and emergency orange. So for non boat people like me, it hadn't occurred to me that yachts powered by the wind can't do a standing start, so they have to drive around like the boat from Speed 2, timing the moment they cross the start line with the start of the race. That's why there's a chunk of colour on the minute counter, which has been re-geared for 15 minutes and not 30, to signify the crucial 5 minutes before the race starts. It's got a killer in-house chronograph movement, for real this time, with 80 hours of power reserve and a reasonable price, all things considered, of £5,900, and it's most certainly a return to fine form for this once great manufacturer of epic chronographs. Have you ever stopped to wonder what it is you actually like about watches? Is it the ability to resist the washing up bowl, or being able to time eggs to within 1/10 of a second? No, of course not. No one actually enjoys using their watches for real life reasons. Except you, of course, because you're special. What most ordinary people like about watches is that they make them happy, whether it's because they remind them of a loved one, or because someone they admire had one, or because it's got a ridiculously over-the-top function, or because the dial looks like a mountain they've been up. The watches we choose reflect our personalities and whatever it is that gets them going. Being an immature man-child with a taste for Haribo, the Studio Underdog O2 Series Field, and in particular the pink lemonade, speaks to me like it's Liam Neeson, and I'm the person who kidnapped his daughter. As long-term viewers will know, I judge watches based on whether or not I want to put them in my mouth, and the pink lemonade passes with fizzy colours. Looking at it, I even get that tingly sensation in the hinges of my jaw. Looking like a wartime boiled sweet isn't the watch's only party trick, however, because not only does it have a floaty sapphire crystal layer printed with numbers above it, which is just crying out to be shot in time-lapse, it's also packing enough lume to make a TSA agent reach for the rubber gloves. It's got facets, this watch. It doesn't just bring one type of joy, it brings many, depending on the time of day, the type of light, and the angle of the watch. You can see it 100 times and never quite see the same watch twice. It's small at 37mm and with the manually wound movement, reasonably priced at £800, but to look at it with plain numbers would be like determining the best kind of Haribo based on nutritional information. Remember, you eat with your eyes first. There was a time in the universe when there wasn't a combination of H. Moser and MB&F's best bits, complete with a minute repeater governed by a musical panda, and then there was. This was a pivotal moment to rival Genesis chapter 1 verse 3, and it was a moment of both great joy and sorrow. It was joyous because I realised the greatest watch to ever be created had come to be, the horological singularity, so to speak, but it was also filled with sorrow because I knew, with just one piece made and an expectation of its sale reaching well over 1 million, I would never own it. There was much wailing and gnashing of teeth, but as they say, it is better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all, and as I handed back this watch after enjoying it for a few precious minutes at the H. Moser stand at Dubai Watch Week, I realised that whoever made up that phrase was a complete idiot. Giving it back felt like donating a kidney to a murderer. It made me briefly consider testing the very strict laws on theft in the UAE. Needless to say, as I sit here with both hands intact, the exercise remained purely theoretical. That little panda friend has become anthemic in my mind's eye, and as cool as the plucky little disc jockey is, he, quite rightly, steals the thunder from something else going on here that makes the Pandamonium truly special. This watch is the coming together of two watchmakers that can seemingly do no wrong, who have no need to embark on such a diplomatic endeavour, and yet they've combined two of the most important aspects of their visual IP to make something that feels more scandalously right than farting in the bath. It's like the Star Trek world's utopian federation of planets, but if it were two brands inspired by the Star Trek world's utopian federation of planets. This is what happens when we all get along. I don't know if you're familiar with Jacob Collier, but he's this musical prodigy who seems to hear music like you and I would read words. It's a language he speaks like I speak English, and he is annoyingly good at it. Like, so annoyingly good, I want to punch him in the face. In the watch biz, That's Simon Brette. You're probably not familiar with him either. Simon Brette is the guy who's been penning many of the wild and wonderful creations appearing at MB&F, working with the most talented artisans in the watch industry to make the dream world a reality. Well, Simon has stepped into the spotlight to make a watch under his own name, and he's pulled a selection of those incredible watchmaking talents into the spotlight with him. Now, I don't want this to end up sounding like one of those, to help a poor starving watchmaker, you can donate just £20,000 a month things, but Simon had spotted that many of these individual talents, who've been carrying some of the industry's greatest on their shoulders, haven't been getting the support they need. Calling them niche artisans would be the same as calling Elon Musk a casual tech investor, or Taylor Swift a reasonably successful musician. So Simon has gathered these talents together to make a watch, the Chronomètre Artisans, listing each and every one of them on his page. And the work they've done is nothing short of so annoyingly good, I want to punch all of them in the face. Imagine a world where watchmaking was about here, shoulder height, tough. Simon has pushed each artisan to go up to here, completely over their heads, beyond anything they've ever done before. If Simon's requests didn't yield the response, I don't think I can do that, then he wasn't pushing hard enough. Every aspect of the watch features details that just go one step further. The scaly rose gold dial, carved by hand. The concave screw heads, mirror finished. The wolf's teeth ringed mainspring barrels, also deeply concave. Every pin, every spring, and every lever are considered in terms of finish, colour, contrast, shape, symmetry, placement, to a degree that makes me think Simon doesn't see wheels, gears and bridges like the rest of us, and it makes me want to punch him right in the face. The year 2023 has been a big win for those slender of pocket thanks to the concerted efforts of a swathe of affordable watchmakers. Chief amongst those is Christopher Ward, who heard the dream of many a destitute watch collecting boy and girl to provide them with a luxurious integrated sports watch to rival the very best. Up until then, the plucky Tissot PRX had provided a "it's so good, 9 out of 10 orphans can't tell the difference" level of integrated watchdom, but we wanted more. We saw the elite sipping champagne and wearing Royal Oaks, and we wanted a taste of that too. The Christopher Ward The 12, to give it its correct name, is a Prosecco made in the field right next to the last field they can legally call champagne. It's the apartment one street over from the border to Monaco. It's the Audi R8 V10 Plus with the ceramic brakes and carbon pack. Would I rather have the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak? Did the Ferrari F1 strategy team make the wrong call? Obviously. But I can't, and what's surprising about the 12 is that it feels less like the compromise it was originally purchased to be. The execution is so damn good that it gets to be its own thing, especially in titanium. The profile is so slender that there are many aspects of it that I actually prefer over the Royal Oak. All else being equal, if I could swap out the movement to something a little bit posher just to fulfill the watch snob in me, like a Girard-Perregaux GPO 1800 or even a La Joux-Perret G100, it would probably be the perfect watch. That would likely push up the steel watch on rubber to £1,100, which brings me to the most staggering thing about the 12, the price. I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. The 12, shoulder to shoulder with an Omega constellation. I watched this CW glitter in the dark near the Patek 5980. All those movements will be lost in time, like gears in the train, because the Christopher Ward The 12 starts at a scarcely believable £850. This sneaky late release in 2023 isn't one that's like, oh my god, a watch! It's more like, finally, thank you. The Longines Legend Diver has existed in one form or another since before the dinosaurs, and watch collectors whose hair is showing grey and whose eyes are decorated with crow's feet will look back with wistful longing to a simpler time when the Legend Diver reissue was the de facto vintage throwback to get. This was a time when Black Bay conjured more thoughts of Johnny Depp than watchmaking company Tudor, and so the Legend Diver sailed in a still blue ocean as the preferred old-timey diver of choice. It had problems. A lot of problems, and this 2023 Legend Diver 39 finally fixes them. The horse may have bolted, assimilated into a new life, found a partner, had kids, and been through a messy divorce by now, but as they say, better 16 years later than never. The glaring issue with the original was that its lugs were longer than the extended editions of The Lord of the Rings back to back. Each lug was so long it could sustain an entire colony of steel-eating beetles for 5 years. The net result was that wearing a Longines Legend Diver looked like a small helicopter had landed on your wrist. The secondary issue was probably a bit more hotly contested. The first reissue was dateless, and then by popular demand, they added a date. And now by the same but different popular demand, it's gone again. I'm on the side of the fence that says, hurrah, be gone date, you were probably wrong anyway. It's also 39mm, just like the Black Bay 58, which has sold about a zillion units, so sensible decision. Is it too little too late? I don't think so. It even costs a whopping £40 less than the 58. I don't really have any great reasoning for this next one. It's the latest in an ongoing series of Chopard watches inspired by Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. I usually don't like this stuff, but for some reason I really like this Chopard LUC Skull One pop art. For the first time in my 250 years of writing about watches, I'm lost for words. I don't know, it's just really cool. Or maybe because everything else has been so meh. My watch of the year is one that, when I first saw it, I wanted every copy ground into dust and the minds of all who'd been involved wiped. This was a DEFCON no thank you situation, code GTFO. The Rolex Oyster Perpetual continues to be one of my favourites in the collection, one of the last bastions of vintage simplicity in an increasingly showy lineup. When I saw the celebration dial for the first time under the bright lights of Watches and Wonders, I took one look and I whispered, look how they massacred my boy. What a cynical watch, taking all the colours of every Oyster Perpetual I couldn't get, and rubbing them in my face all in one watch I also couldn't get. I was furious, disgusted in fact. Then I remembered it was just a watch and that I should probably get over it. When I did, I had a notion. There's a lot of talk about the industry needing to appeal to a younger audience so it doesn't make the same mistakes all over again and find itself irrelevant, standing there with its balance cock in its hand. Different manufacturers have had different approaches to this. Some have made colourful Day of the Dead editions that I inexplicably like for some reason. Others have partnered with musicians whose concerts have led to the deaths of children as young as 9. It's an impossibility to create something that transcends generations, that appeals to the young without alienating the cash-rich elders. The list is basically this: the iPad and board games. Well, now there's a third thing: the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Celebration. Why? It's got bubbles on it. Everyone loves bubbles. Kids love bubbles. Adults love bubbles. It's innate. The great irony really is that the people who like bubbles the least are Rolex. What the celebration dial has done is unlocked the awesome power of seeing a watch on Instagram, instantly recognizing it, and then wanting one, like a pair of Supreme oven gloves or whatever, but without making the old people who are actually buying the stuff Rolex is selling right now from telling them to get off their lawn. It's the wristwatch equivalent of the very hungry caterpillar. It's for kids, really, but if you see a copy, you just can't help yourself but flick through. Rolex in the past may have been as innovative and forward-thinking as Blockbuster Video, but things have changed. The celebration dial is a remarkable piece of thinking, so simple and elegant and yet so incredibly powerful. I've spoken to guys who'd rather get sent to the gulag than introduce some colour into their wardrobe, hankering after one. I've seen kids who think anyone who gets paid over 50 grand should be sent to the gulag, being swayed by one. For goodness sake, if even I can end up wanting one, then bravo Rolex, bravo, you win this round. Those are my top 10 watches for 2023. What do you think and what are yours? Let me know in the comments. Please do like and subscribe as well, and don't forget to chew gum with your mouth open. Goodbye. Still here? Watch this video next.